the whole idea of forgiveness. So I want to talk about it, first of all, on the level of the word. The word mechila, which is forgiveness, right? It's not just slicha. It's also mechila. The word mechila in Hebrew also is made up of the same letters as machol, to dance, mahala, sickness, chemla, compassion. Okay? That's why all of our mitziyut, all of our reality is really understood best when we put it in the Hebrew language. So forgiveness, when we talk about forgiveness and we relate it to these words, we relate it to machol, dancing, mechila, forgiveness, machala, illness, chemla, compassion, so much, chal, beginning. There's so many, lecha, which is moisture in the body. All of these, and I can go on and on and on and give you all the unifications and permutations of understanding how there's so much embedded in the idea of forgiveness. So let's just address first one thing and say that in order to forgive, you have to have compassion. Chemla. Yes, you have to have compassion. You have to be able to see the other party. You have to see yourself. If you're forgiving yourself, you have to be able to see yourself and say, wait a minute, what is it here? That could it be that I didn't know about something? Could it be that I wasn't familiar with something? Could it be that there was something that I didn't have dot. I didn't have my mind set at the right time, in the right place at the time. So I have to have compassion over myself. I simply didn't know. Could it be that I should think the same way when I'm talking about somebody else? Yes, they didn't know. They were ignorant at the time. They were sabotaged by their Yetzer Hara. Their evil inclination took over them. There's so many avenues that can lead me to a place of compassion. And the next step after compassion is empathy. To also allow myself, I speak about this in my program, Healing Hearts, advisable for everyone to dip into that program, very life transformative, where I talk about the idea of compassion and empathy. I have a whole segment on it. And we talk about the idea of putting ourselves for that moment in the person's shoes. Put yourself in your own shoes when you were 15, when you were 18, when you were 3 years old, whatever it is, your younger you. And try to remember how it felt. Try, and again, if you're doing it with somebody else, try to step into the shoes and feel what it might have felt like to have had that upbringing. That person had a different set of parents, a different upbringing, a different set of circumstances, a different soul energy. They were given different tools in life to have gone through what they went through and to cope with whatever they did. So that's very, very important. And we know that if we don't do the work of forgiveness, the Stipler HaKadosh, the Holy Stipler, said a long time ago that the whole idea of Sultan, cancer, this whole plague of cancer that we experience in the universe at the time that his students came over and said, what are we supposed to do? The oncology department is packed with people. What does it mean? What can we understand from this? And the Stipler said, Sultan is Sal Tina, stopping and releasing Tina, resentment. And so when we do forgiving and letting go, I'm not going to go to the extreme of cancer, but many, many of the illnesses that plague us in mind and body and in soul have a lot to do with us not forgiving ourselves, somebody, Hashem. I know some of us don't want to think of it, that we're upset with Hashem and bear grudge against him, but we do. And we have to come clean. We have to, go deep and be honest. We have to shy away from the response level of Adam HaRishon, When he sinned, what did he do? He hid behind the tree. We have to stop hiding because Hashem knows. Hashem is always asking you and I, Ayeka, where are you? So we shouldn't hide and assume that Hashem doesn't know that we're upset with him. We have to be open and talk to him about it and be open about our emotions. So that's in regards to illness. When we don't forgive and let go, we hold on to toxic energy that breeds into physical manifestation in the body and turns into disease and sickness. So very, very important to take it one day earlier, right? And to say, I gotta let it go. This toxicity has to be drained away. I've got to do the forgiveness. We'll talk about, other reasons, but I'm just building up the momentum here. So we spoke about chemla, we spoke about compassion, we spoke about machala in terms of illnesses. Chal, new beginnings happen from this place when we're able to really do forgiving and letting go. We're allowing something new to come and rise, and for something new to again just come in. As if it's consciousness, if it's a renewal of spirit, if it's new opportunities, if it's the renewal of relationships, but there's always something new that comes about. And at the baseline, it's not for nothing that, of course, Mechila also is reminiscent of the words milchama, a war. When we don't forgive and let go, we're in war. We're at war, literally within ourselves, with somebody else. Like I said, there's a lot of hints and a lot of pieces to this puzzle. And where do we want to go? We eventually want to go to a place. It's not easy, what I'm about to say, but eventually we want to go to a place where, yes, we're machon. We're able to, I don't know if I could say literally, take it as a literal understanding of dancing, but we want to get to a place where we want to celebrate the mahol, and the dance comes from a place of, I feel free. And when I feel free, I could celebrate. When I celebrate, I want to dance. So that's essentially, in a nutshell, the reason why we want to consider looking at the idea of forgiving and letting go, and take it seriously. Take it very, very seriously. Don't let the opportunity pass you by at every moment. Don't wait for once a year, Rosh Hashanah and Elul, for Hashem to knock on our door, knock on our consciousness. As it happens, try to generate the frequency of forgiveness, which is also right up there on the frequency scale. Yeah, forgiveness, compassion, and really allowing yourself to experience what it feels like to free yourself. But the key with forgiving and letting go is recognizing that you're the only one really at the end of the day who's suffering when you're not forgiving and letting go. Because that person, if we're talking about somebody else, or you, the younger you or the old you, it happened. It was in the past. It's not happening again. So yeah, someone might say to me, yeah, but it's still happening now. I understand, but let's just chisel away at the baggage that was even if I'm enduring some sort of pain that seems to have been riding with me for a long time. At least let me get rid of the old layers, right? Maybe I'll be able to see, and I guess something I also talk about in the Healing Hearts is the idea of the quantum mind, of being able to really see things from the today, right? If I can chisel away at some of those old places, I stand a chance of being able to also change the way I'm seeing them today, even though I might be experiencing the same thing as I've been experiencing for the past, I don't know how many years or days or a while. So when we chisel away at the past, we have a different brain today. Even if I started to experience something very painful for me 10 years ago, and I'm still going through it every so often today with the same person, but my brain maturity 10 years later is not the way it was 10 years ago. So if I could chisel away some of that old consciousness, maybe my 10-year-old older brain now could look at the situation and look at it from a very different way. Maybe my 10-year-old older brain today, again, I just gave it as an example, right? It could be 20-year-old brain, it could be 10-day older brain, it could be anything, 10-second older brain. But every moment we grow, our bodies are always changing, our energy fields are always changing. So we can't, again, I'm not who I was before the break. I'm not who I am in a moment from now, and I'm always changing. So this growth that's happening, I'm in that new, right? HaMechadesh b'tuvo b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh bereshit. At this place of constant renewal that Hashem is always renewing. Hashem has a very awesome job, may I dare to say. He not only brought the world into creation, but he has a chovah. Hashem is committed to sustaining creation. Hashem didn't just say, I'm going to create a world. Hashem said, I have to take care of every ant, every cockroach, every leaf, right? Every moth, every human being, everybody. He has to take care of all the continents, make sure everybody has their food, has their ability to heal. That's a big job, so to speak. Minimizing, God forbid, humanizing the awesomeness of our Creator, but just for us to understand. So if Hashem is all the time worrying about sustaining the world and renewing, we know Chazal and our rabbis don't mince words. They don't just sell us a package of words. If it says that Hashem renews creation at every given moment, I have to believe that. That's part of my duty, right? Of being the child of Hashem. I have to believe that at every moment I could see things differently than the way I thought about it 5 seconds ago. Because I have to believe that new neurons are being generated in my brain, and that I really can see this from a different light, a different perspective. So if I let go of some of those older layers and layer consciousness, because that's where I was, nothing wrong with me. The fact that I thought about what I thought about, I was angry the way that I did whatever I did. If it would, remember the words, if it could have, and it would have, and it should have, it would have. If I was supposed to have different dots, if I was supposed to have known about it differently then, if I knew back then what I know today, then I would have known it. If I was supposed to know back then what I know today, why wouldn't God give it to me? It must mean that I wasn't supposed to know about it. And I was supposed to go through this this generating process of growth. And we say Hashem is righteous and just in all his ways. That means everything that's happening to me and to you and to all of us is exactly the way it's meant to be, in all of its details and all of its preciseness. So whatever I did then, or whatever that person did, I somehow needed to go through that. I don't want to look at it as a punishment if it was something really awful and abusive. I want to look at it as that somehow, some way, I don't have to understand it logically. That's not what's being demanded of me, to wrap my pea-sized brain around it and say, oh, I can now understand why it was supposed to happen. That's not the goal. The goal is to try to release myself in understanding, learn the lesson, move on, and recognize there's going to be a lot of questions I'll still have. That's the Emuna state of mind. A lot of questions I still might have, but that's okay. I'll live in the question mark. And I have the merit and the zchut to be able to say, I'm a Baal Emuna. I'm the owner of Emuna. Because I don't understand it. I don't know. So when I don't know and I still choose to believe and be faithful to Hashem and committed and loyal and dedicated to being a servant of Hashem and a daughter of Hashem, then I'm practicing Emuna. And that, there's a mitzvah, right? There's a mitzvah, right? Habakkuk says, Hamidam al-echad. Took all the 613 mitzvahs and commandments, and he said, Hamidam, he stood them all on one foot. Tzaddik be'emunato yichyeh. In order to elevate ourselves to the most perfect place, Emuna. Yichyeh. You will live when you have Emuna. When you don't have Emuna in Hashem, unfortunately, we're not in a place of ultimate living. So that's Another reason why I wanted to always check myself out. How am I, Orit Esther? How are you doing? Forgive me. Anybody you need to clear the slate with right now? Check yourself out. So somebody that irked me, that it could be something small. Check yourself out. Make sure. Don't wait for Elul. It's too much. It's a heavy baggage to wait once a year to forgive and let go. Let's do this on a regular basis.